Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Bethany, and today's recipe I'm going to be showing you how to make one of my favorite eggplant recipes aside from eggplant parmesan, which is eggplant lasagna. I'm going to be using my garden eggplant, which I have a lot of right now, and we're going to be roasting the slices and then layering it like a lasagna. No pasta noodles needed, and it is delicious. I think you're going to love it. So let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is get our eggplant sliced up. And what I have is 2 cookie sheets or sheet pans, and we're gonna lay the eggplant on there and we'll roast it in the oven. But I'm just lining the pans with a little bit of parchment sheets because it makes for an easy cleanup. So I have my garden eggplants here. They're all different sizes, which works actually really well in a lasagna because you're just layering it in. You don't need them to be all equal sizes. But we're going to slice this lengthwise into 1/4 inch thick slices. So my first one's gonna be a little thicker because it's the end piece. And I'm just gonna do this by eye. It actually doesn't need to be super exact because we are roasting these in the oven. They'll soften up a lot in there. So if they are a little bit imperfectly cut, that's okay. Then I'm gonna lay these out on our sheet pan. And the nice thing about this is typically you have to salt the eggplant to get the moisture out, but we don't need to do that in this case. We're gonna salt it for flavor, not to get rid of the moisture because, again, we're roasting. All right, so we're done with slicing the eggplant. Now what we're gonna do is, I only have my grill brush. I keep forgetting to order a regular sized brush, but we're going to take some olive oil, some cooking olive oil, and just brush both sides of the eggplant. Then after that, we're going to sprinkle just a pinch of salt over top. And you don't want to sprinkle too much salt because the salt is going to flavor the eggplant. It's not just for making it sweat, which it does help that. It also helps tenderize it, but this is for flavor too, so we won't be wiping it off. So after salting, we're now going to roast these in the oven, and we have our oven preheated at 400 degrees. We're gonna roast these for about 20 to 25 minutes. Every oven's gonna be different, but you just want them to be nicely browned, a little bit golden, and just nicely roasted. The skin will shrivel up too, and they'll be nice and tender for layering into the lasagna. All right, so while our eggplant is roasting in the oven, we can make our ricotta filling for the lasagna. So we're gonna be using a cup of this. Then we're gonna add an egg. And the egg is just to help bind up everything. Sometimes the ricotta can be stiff like this one, so it kind of needs that egg to help everything emulsify and blend together. Then we're gonna do 3 garlic cloves. I hardly ever mince garlic anymore by hand. Ever since getting this garlic press, it's made using garlic so much easier. Then 1 heaping half cup of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. All right, then next we have our herbs, and I almost just chopped up a caterpillar in here, found that right away in the parsley. And what we're gonna be doing is 1/4 cup of freshly chopped basil and then 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. Little pinch of salt. We don't need a ton because we have that Parmigiano Reggiano in there. Then a generous pinch of black pepper. Then we'll just mix all that together. All right, so now that we have our ricotta filling and our eggplant ready, some of the eggplant slices, if they're really thin, will get a little crispy edge, and that's fine. We don't have to use those ones, but you can. But you do run the risk of that happening if the eggplant slices are too thin. So what we're gonna do is first, we're gonna take some marinara. You can use my San Marzano tomato sauce or your favorite homemade sauce, store-bought sauce, and we'll put a light layer on the bottom of a casserole dish or lasagna dish. I felt like my lasagna dish was a little too big for this. I've also done this in a cast iron skillet, but it was enameled. So you can really do this in any type of dish. And then we'll add some eggplant slices. Then we'll add our ricotta. And this ricotta cheese that I used, I don't typically use this one. It's a bit stiff, so it's gonna be a little hard for me to spread, but it kind of just goes to show that every ricotta cheese is quite different in texture and consistency. And we'll spread the ricotta cheese out. Then we'll sprinkle a little bit of freshly grated mozzarella over that. And then a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano. I always love using this cheese because it adds just a nice salty flavor to the whole lasagna. And I feel like you need that because the mozzarella is just there to be nice and creamy and melty. So just a little dusting of that. And then we'll repeat with just a little bit more sauce over top. And repeat the layers with more eggplant. Okay, so for our final layer on top, we did sauce over the eggplant, then mozzarella and our final dusting of Parmigiano Reggiano. And now we're gonna bake this uncovered for 25 to 30 minutes. And we're gonna lower our oven from 400 degrees, which is what we roasted the eggplant at, down to 350. So we'll bake this for 25 to 30 minutes at 350, uncovered. All right, so the eggplant lasagna is out of the oven. I had it cool down. You know, lasagnas, you can't really serve them right away. They're always very hot. We're gonna taste this. And I did broil this at the end, so I cooked this for 30 minutes, and then that didn't brown the cheese, so we had to broil it. It is so good. The eggplant is so tender, which is so great because when I'm using my homegrown eggplant, I'm always afraid that it's not fully ripened correctly. It's hard for me to kind of tell in the garden, but that's when you know it's not ripe, is when it's tough, even though you've cooked it fully, and everything is so tender. I love all the herbs, but I also love that we roasted the eggplant. It gives it just a different flavor than just layering it into this. And actually, I was going to share eggplant parmigiana as my eggplant recipe for the season, but when I tested that recipe, I actually was thinking about eggplant lasagna when I was tasting it, and I was like, I know this might offend some people because that's a classic Italian dish, but I think this is better. Eggplant parmigiana, if you're not familiar with it, it's not eggplant parm, but it's eggplant slices layered after they've been fried with cheese and sauce. And it's very simple, it's a delicious dish, but I think that the ricotta cheese takes us to the next level, and this is very much like an eggplant parmigiana, but just better because it has that ricotta filling. It's richer, it just tastes a little bit more filling in a way. Well, that's everything for today, and I know I've been sharing a lot of garden recipes in the last couple videos, but 'tis the season because garden stuff is in season for most of us, unless you live in another part of the country and it's winter there. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't want summer to end. I'm really, really loving all the fresh produce from my garden. So I'm savoring that and using it as much as I can in recipes. So as always, I'll catch you in the next recipe and I'll see you in the comments.